We have a problem in our country. It's a new problem. It's a problem that nobody really thought about too much a few years ago, and it's called vaping, especially vaping as it pertains to innocent children. And they're coming home and they're saying, "Mom, I want to vape." And the parents don't know too much about it, and nobody knows too much about it, but they do know it's causing a lot of problems. And we're going to have to do something about it. One of the words and one of the reasons we're meeting today is to let you know that it's out there. And we want to have parents understand that we're studying it very carefully. It's, again, very new and potentially very bad. There have been deaths and there have been a lot of other problems. People think it's an easy solution to cigarettes, but it's turned out that it has its own difficulties. So I'm going to ask Secretary Azar to say a few words, and then, if I could, Acting Director of the FDA, Sharpless, and you've been doing a fantastic job. I want to thank you. And we want to discuss the situation because not only is it a problem overall, but really specifically with respect to children. We're getting some stories that we don't want to hear, and we may very well have to do something very, very strong about it. So if I could ask you, Mr. Secretary, say a few words.
Thank you, Mr. President. So we briefed the President and First Lady today on as yet undisclosed new data that we have from the National Youth Tobacco Survey. This information shows a continued surging in adolescent usage of e-cigarettes. It also shows that the youth are drawn to flavored e-cigarettes, including mint and menthol. Currently, about 8 million adults use e-cigarettes, but 5 million children are using e-cigarettes. This is exceptionally harmful to our children. An entire generation of children risk becoming addicted to nicotine because of the attractiveness, appealability, and availability of these vaping products. So with the President's support, the Food and Drug Administration intends to finalize a guidance document that would commence enforcement to require that all flavors other than tobacco flavor would be removed from the market. This would include mint and menthol flavoring, as well as candy flavors, bubblegum flavor, fruit flavor, alcohol flavor. You get the drift. So once the FDA would finalize this guidance, we would begin enforcement actions to remove all such products from the marketplace. We would allow tobacco flavoring to remain subject to their filing, the manufacturers of the tobacco flavored e-cigarette products filing for pre-market tobacco approval with the Food and Drug Administration to assure that the availability of their product is consistent with the public health under the standards set by the Tobacco Control Act. Any of the other products which would be removed from the market would be able to apply under the similar regulatory pathway for approval, but have to meet that standard. But I want to caution that with the President's support, while we would allow the tobacco-flavored e-cigarettes to remain on the market to be available for adults who are seeking to stop the use of combustible tobacco, if we find that children are being attracted to tobacco-flavored e-cigarettes, if we find that manufacturers are marketing the tobacco-flavored e-cigarettes to children or placing them in settings where they get them, we will take enforcement action there also. Let me turn it over to Dr. Ned Sharpless, the Acting Commissioner of the Food and Drug Administration, for any additional details and comments that you would have.
Thank you, Secretary. The data gathered by the CDC and the FDA are as the Secretary described. It shows a very concerning and alarming trend of use by children of flavored e-cigarette products. The President is directing the FDA to take decisive action against this problem. and to finalize our plans that we have been working on. This would have the effect, as the Secretary mentioned, of severely curtailing access to flavored e-cigarette products, which we believe drive childhood use, and will help us get a handle on this alarming and concerning trend.
And I will say that Commissioner Sharpless has been working on this very hard, but he's now going to double and triple up. We're looking at very strong rules and regulations. We already have laws as we need them, but we want to get to the bottom of a very unusual situation. It's so new and it's become so big, so fast, and it could be a potential very severe problem. So, Commissioner, you know what to do. You know
Yes,
what
sir.
to do, and it's something that frankly should have been looked into a few years ago in a much more advanced way. It wasn't, and we have something that will be very interesting to see what turns up. But you'll be able to report back in the fairly near future because you've done a lot of work on this, and we'll see what happens, okay?
Yes, sir, the FDA is on it.
Thank you very much.
President, about your announcement today, are you concerned that the companies that were making these products will be treated unfairly by taking these products off the market?
Well, they've become very rich companies very fast, and the whole thing with vaping been very profitable. And I want companies, look, you know that, I fight for our companies very hard. That's why I'm fighting with China. That's why I'm fighting with other countries. If you look at European Union, and if you look at Japan, and if you look at so many others, including South Korea and many others, we're constantly dealing with them to make it good for our companies, because I view it as jobs. I view it as income for our country and jobs. Vaping has become a very big business, as I understand it, like a giant business in a very short period of time. But we can't allow people to get sick, and we can't have our youth be so affected. And I'm hearing it, and that's how the First Lady got involved. And she's got a son together that is a beautiful young man, and she feels very, very strongly about it. She's seen it. We're both reading it. A lot of people are reading it. But people are dying with vaping. So we're looking at it very closely. And, you know, if nothing else, this is a conference that's going to let people know about it, because people are going to watch what we're saying. And parents are going to be a lot tougher with respect to their children. A lot of people think vaping is wonderful, it's great. It's really not wonderful. That's one thing I think we can say definitely, Commissioner. It's not a wonderful thing. It's got big problems. We have to find out the extent of the problem. It's so new. It's so new. But we're going to find out. And I hope that parents that, you know, they have children and the children are a certain age, I hope they're going to be able to make wise decisions, maybe based on what we're saying today. But the Commissioner and Alex Azar, they're going to be coming back over the next pretty short period of time, couple of weeks, with some very strong recommendations.
Can you tell us what the timeline is for taking those flavors off the market?
Alex?
Yes, so it'll take several weeks for us to put out the final guidance that would announce all the parameters around the enforcement policy, and then it will likely be about a 30-day delayed effective date, as is customary with FDA's good guidance practices. And at that point, all flavored e-cigarettes other than tobacco flavors would have to be removed from the market. Tobacco flavored e-cigarettes, their manufacturers would by May 2020 have to file for approval by FDA of their products. The other flavored product manufacturers can at any time also file, but they would be off the market until approved by FDA. The Obama administration had allowed these products to go onto the market in an unregulated way by delaying any enforcement in the hopes that people who are using combustible tobacco would transition to a less harmful form of nicotine-free cigarettes. But what we've seen is the data just shows the kids are getting access to these products in spite of our best efforts at enforcement, at retail enforcement, at controlling locations, at over 8,000 warning letters to retailers and others, in spite of moving product off shelves. They've been going at it, so we simply have to remove these attractive flavored products from the marketplace until they secure FDA approval if they can.